Welcome to History's Remnants, where we visit antique and resale stores looking for history and oddities. Today we are visiting Waukesha Antique Mall in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The Magic Fishbone by Charles Dickens is the second of 4 holiday-themed stories that were published in 1864. In this story, Dickens writes from the point of view of a 7-year-old girl, Miss Alice Rainbird, telling of a king and queen and their 19 children. The magic doesn't stop there. With a fairy godmother, a magic fishbone, a doll that is a duchess, a child that manages the house while her mother is sick and father is working, and a child wedding, this really is a unique story. In 1959, 36 years before Andy and Woody palled around in Toy Story, there was Cowboy Andy, the story of a city boy that visits a ranch and learns how to be a cowboy. Before Jimmy Neutron, there was Tom Swift, a young inventor with the tagline, "Swift by name and swift by nature." Originally published between 1910 and 1940, the series has been revived 4 times and updated for each time period. A few inventions have been predicted by, and in the case of the taser, inspired by Tom Swift's inventions. The word taser is an acronym for Thomas A. Swift's electric rifle. As popular as Tom Swift has been, multiple radio, TV, and movie projects have been proposed through the years, all the way back to a proposed movie in 1914. However, the only project ever completed was a TV movie starring Willie Ames from Happy Days and Lori Loughlin, future cast member of Full House. Robert Louis Stevenson, author of Treasure Island and The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, spent much of his childhood sick with frequent illnesses, possibly due to tuberculosis. In 1866, at the age of 16, he printed his first work. In 1882, The New Arabian Nights was published as a collection of Stevenson's short stories that were previously published in magazines between 1877 and 1880, and were, although set in Europe, stylized like the original Arabian Nights. Zane Grey was a dentist by day, pioneering American Western writer by night. His first novels, like Betty Zane in 1903 and The Last Plainsman in 1909, were a struggle to publish, but when his editor rejected Riders of the Purple Sage in 1912, Zane went over his head to the vice president of Harper, and it was accepted. That novel became a bestseller and helped build the Western genre's popularity. Zane went on to publish many more works, including Lone Star Ranger, which was later adapted to The Lone Ranger. Predating any of those caped superheroes, there was Doc Savage, the Man of Bronze. He wasn't bitten by a radioactive spider or born on a foreign planet, but starting in March 1933, Clark Savage Jr., also known as Doc Savage, was published. One of his creators, Lester Dent, described Doc Savage as a mix of Sherlock Holmes's deductive abilities, Tarzan's outstanding physical abilities, Craig Kennedy's scientific education, and Abraham Lincoln's goodness. He also described Doc Savage as manifesting Christliness. It has been said that he was based on World War I American military officer and author Richard Henry Savage, who wrote more than 40 books of adventure and mystery stories and lived a dashing and daring life. He even had his own Fortress of Solitude before Superman. As of 2018, a Doc Savage movie is in the works with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson set to star as the title character. James Bond has been portrayed as the epitome of the handsome, suave British spy, and his creator, Ian Fleming, drew from his own experiences in World War II to build the world of Casino Royale and The Man with the Golden Gun. People that he knew were compiled to become his characters, like his own red-haired secretary inspired parts of Miss Moneypenny, and his Bond villains were named after his own personal nemesis. Helen Cromwell, or Dirty Helen as she titled her biography, had the dirtiest mouth in Milwaukee, but she didn't just curse like a sailor. She started her life in average fashion with a husband and kids, but when she discovered her husband was having an affair with a local madam, she confronted the other woman and scratched her face raw. She went on to become a prostitute herself, traveling the U.S. and even working for Al Capone. When she was about 40 years old, she settled in Milwaukee and purchased the Sunflower Inn, a speakeasy-turned-tavern that became a destination for locals and celebrities. She also enjoyed helping local children low on luck pay tuition so that they could stay in school, and is said to have done so for a young Joseph McCarthy, encouraging him to switch his studies to law. In some ways, she can be blamed for McCarthyism and his blacklist during the Cold War. Combining America's love of cars with its love of movies, the drive-in theater was born in the early 20th century. Early drive-ins used loudspeakers mounted around the cars, and the noise would disturb neighbors. In 1941, speakers were developed to be used in the car and even included volume controls. The popularity of drive-ins peaked in the 1950s and 60s. With the rise of home entertainment with the VCR, the drive-in started to decline. Drive-ins are now few and far between, but the love for drive-ins still exists. Pop-up drive-ins and movies in the park help communities relive the drive-in experience. Before Netflix and DVDs, or even VHS, Castle Films filled the need for home entertainment with 8mm and 16mm home movies. Starting in 1937, Castle distributed newsreel footage of the Hindenburg explosion and then widened their line to include movies, cartoons, sports, and animal adventures. In December 1946, United World Films, a division of Universal Pictures, purchased a 75% interest in Castle, and Castle gained access to some of the Universal properties like Hopalong Cassidy, Abbott and Costello, and the Movie Monsters. Video cassettes overtook reels in the home movie market in the 80s, but these movies are still collectible. Over the Rainbow was originally written for The Wizard of Oz, and this showstopper almost didn't make the cut, as filmmakers thought it slowed the pace of the movie. Luckily for music history, it was left in, becoming a big hit and a symbolic song for so many. The song has been covered many times over by artists like Willie Nelson, Ray Charles, and recently by Ariana Grande for her One Love Manchester concert. What does a witch doctor have to do with a group of singing chipmunks? Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, ting, tang, walla, walla, bing, bang. In 1958, Ross Bagdasarian Sr., stage name David Seville, released the Witch Doctor song with the voice of the singing witch doctor sped up slightly to give it a higher pitch. Later, the same effect was used for the Chipmunks song, Christmas Don't Be Late, starting the Chipmunks' origination story and cementing them in pop culture. Hey, hey, hey! Fat Albert was created by Bill Cosby for his stand-up routine and based on his childhood group of friends. In 1969, Fat Albert was first brought to TV as a special, but NBC thought it was too educational for a regular Saturday morning cartoon. CBS picked it up, and the show ran from 1972 through 1984, and then the 84-85 season was run in syndication. Fat Albert and his Junkyard Gang resurfaced in 2004 as a live-action movie starring Kenan Thompson, and in 2013 the series was licensed to DreamWorks Classics. Unfortunately for the future of the show, allegations of inappropriate activity surfaced against Cosby, and everything is on hold for the foreseeable future. This is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it just goes on and on, my friends. Sherry Lewis was born into show business, Both of her parents were entertainers, and she was trained in multiple arts such as magic, juggling, and music starting at a young age. Sherry was a proponent for children's education, and when she appeared before Congress in 1993, she brought her opinionated puppet Lamb Chop with her to make the case for children's education on television. Lamb Chop is quoted, "We need the best you grown-ups have to offer. If you give it to us, we will give you the good stuff back." Forget bulky player pianos. In 1930, the QRS Play-A-Sax was patented as a toy for children or adults without musical ability to play music by simply blowing into the mouthpiece and cranking the special roll of paper that, like player piano rolls, had holes spaced to create musical notes. Potato chips as a diet food? In the 1930s, it was thought that chips were easy on the digestion and therefore the perfect diet food. Thanks for watching, and remember to like this video and follow this channel for more fun history. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest for more between the video content.